Hello, my name is Brian Ridlon. I am a student with ACTI, and I'm actually talking with another student from ACTI about general circumstances and situations dealing with ACTI and how he feels that he has been treated, and also how the employees and the staff and the general instructors of the school have made him feel at times. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please, sir?
My name is Daryl Johns. I'm also a student at ACTI. I'm in the culinary department. And as far as like my room and conditions go with the house parents, some of them, they try to think that they're over everybody and they think that they're head dogs. They're not. We're just humans. But they try to make us feel insecure and really down about it. They try to make us feel like we're low and they're big. That's not true. That's not the case. Mr. Rick, he likes to unannouncedly walk into people's rooms, because I've heard it from several students that he's walked into their rooms without knocking. He just unlocked the door and walked right in. I don't remember their names.
So do you think that's an invasion of your privacy?
Yeah, that is a huge invasion of privacy, because let's put it this way. If you were naked in your room, I'm not saying you would be, but let's say at any point in time you could be changing your clothes, and him just walking in there like that, it's possible that he could see something.
True. And that would make you extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that would be a huge violation of any person's personal space.
You brought up a good point that I want to ask you a question about. ACTI specifically states that they're not responsible for any items or situations of your item or basically personal property to be stolen.
Yes.
But yet there is employees that we all know carry keys to unlock the door to go looking for towels.
Yes.
And they go throughout your room during class time hours when you guys are in class, being able to have free reign in your room, in your private dwelling, where you actually own personal items.
Yes.
Have you at any point in time had any form of personal items that may have came up missing?
Yeah, $20.
$20.
Last year when I was up here, I went to the staff, I went to Mr. Rick, I went to Mr. Bibb about it, and he said that there's no proof that anybody went into my room.
Okay, but yet we do know that staff has access with
Yes.
keys, because they go in there looking for towels
Yes.
or looking for this and that.
It's security.
Do you feel that it would be a better solution if they waited after class when you could actually be there while somebody entered your room or your dwelling? Or better yet, maybe just simply take a mason drill and drill a hole in the side of the door, or not in the door but in the side of the wall, and actually install a wooden dowel or maybe some form of a wooden cabinetry that you could actually put your towels or your things in that they want to have returned so they can wash them, so they don't have to invade the privacy of your room. And if they want to do room checks or so on, if they feel fit, because there was a complaint done, that they could come and address you after class and go and inspect your room accordingly.
Yeah.
With you being present. Would that make you more comfortable with safeguarding your items
Yes.
and your personal property?
Yes.
Do you
really
think
would. Because it would give students a chance to actually be there and make sure that their stuff isn't being taken. I mean, there's been Little Jonathan Jones had his entire room wiped out. TV stolen, everything in his room, including the sheets, pillowcase, pillow, everything cleared. Straight down to the bed. And the bed was laying up against the door.
Wow.
So my question is how did they get it out of his room without anybody noticing? Because there's cameras and everybody can see it. So the question still remains is, how come they haven't caught the person? How come they haven't introduced this problem? And how come Mr. Bibb pretends that it didn't happen?
Another question I have, because you brought up a good point. You dealt with the aspects of the cameras in the hallways and them not being able to see
Everything.
that something's going on, and they're not checking those out to actually see if they can help with getting items returned. Do you think possibly, since staff have access to a large cart, that potentially in some cases they might be able to load things up on that cart and hide it?
Well, it is possible, yes, but the problem still remains how they're going to get past the cameras.
True.
In the hallways.
What if they slid that cart up against the door where it's not directly in the eyes of the camera? Do you think while they're in the room they could potentially slide stuff onto that cart? Is that feasibly possible in your opinion?
It would be a little risky, but yes, it would be possible.
Okay. There was a current circumstance, or I should say a current situation that happened about 2 days ago dealing with a gas leak on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
What all do you know about that situation, and how were you dealt with, and how was your general safety and your concerns, and how did staff treat you during that situation?
Well, we were sitting there on the 6th floor, we were playing a video game, and next thing we know, we get told by Coach Smith, he was saying that we had to evacuate the 6th floor because there was a gas leak. Well, we went down to the 1st floor, went out the 1st floor PT ramp, and then...
Now, how did you exit? Did you exit through the staircase?
Yeah, the stairwell.
Okay.
Because that was the only way out, because we couldn't take the elevators.
Okay.
Because one spark and boom. And so we exited through the stairwell, but as we were coming down the stairwell, 4th floor reeked. I knew what it was. It was propane. I mean, I've smelled that smell enough times to know. And I said that I had made the comment to Mr. Rick, because
So you smelled gas?
Yes, I did. It was very strong on the 4th floor stairwell. And when we got down to 3rd, I was about to gag on the 3rd floor. And then when we got down to 2nd, it started thinning out. And when we got to 1st, we went outside. We stood out there for about 2 hours in the rain, waiting for Mr. Rick and all them to show up. And then when Mr. Rick did show up, he said, "All right, listen, I'm head dog, and y'all got to do whatever I say right now."
And this individual was?
Mr. Rick.
Mr. Rick. Now, who is Mr. Rick?
Rick Ward.
Rick Ward.
That's all I know. Rick Ward Harder is his full name, I think. But he basically made the comments that we were under his supervision and we have to do whatever he says no matter what. There were some students that were told that they could not go off campus, and yet they did anyway. And me personally, I wanted to go off campus, but they said, "No, y'all got to stay in here." And he made us march like prisoners from... Well, first, he made us line up on the fence line at the PT ramp. Then he made us all walk down to Ross Hall. And then he divided the guys and the girls up. He sent the girls over to Cosmo, which means he put them back into the rain, took them over to Ross Hall, when that was dangerous in itself, because if lightning was to strike any one of them, they would have been dead.
The likelihood of lightning in the rain striking someone's not that big.
I mean,
but to separate you guys as individual students, that's not technically their right.
No.
You're legally an adult, and they're legally an adult. So for an adult to tell you guys you don't have the right to be around each other during a situation where a building is leaking gas and they're telling you you can't leave campus, that's more the issue.
Yeah.
The lightning, people walk around in the rain all the time and don't get struck by lightning.
Yeah. But I mean, it was still, the security issue of the well-being of the students.
Right.
And that was my point behind it. And another thing to do
How
with
did
that,
you feel with staff treating you at that time?
honestly, I thought Father Rick was Mr. Rick was being a total jerk about it, because he was basically saying he got to do what he wanted, and there wasn't nothing we could do about it.
Okay.
And
when you went to Ross Hall, now I've heard potentially there's black mold in there and there's
Yes.
photographs, and there was also construction work going on in rooms that were assigned to students. So they actually said that we're going to postpone moving guys over for 3 months, and any girls or women that wanted to come back over to the main building could choose to if they wanted to, but if they wanted to remain in the building, they can if they choose to. It was their choice if they felt comfortable. In your opinion, do you think at any point in time during that you were over there at Ross Hall, while there was a gas leak on the 3rd floor, do you think it was appropriate to expose you to a building that may have potentially had black mold
No.
and still construction work?
No.
Do you
It
think
is
that
not
was a
safe.
safe environment for
No.
you? Okay.
There's no reason that they could have took us down here to the convention center, honestly, because it's more safe than being next to an exploding building or a ticking time bomb.
Now, what is your current age at this time?
20.
20. Next question I've got to ask. Next question I've got to ask is this. During the period of time that you were over there,
Yes.
did you feel when they told you you could not leave the campus at all,
Yeah.
that they were holding you against your will?
Yes.
Okay. And did you feel that that was somewhat in wrongful imprisonment?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel as an adult that you could go somewhere on your own, conduct yourself accordingly, maintain yourself in downtown Hot Springs,
Yes.
and abide by the laws of what basically
Yes.
Arkansas and Hot Springs has?
Yes.
Okay, do you feel by them holding you at that facility while there was a leaking gas going on the 3rd floor,
Yes.
that that was appropriate or safe for you?
No.
Okay.
Because at any time, like I said, if anything in that building did make any kind of spark, boom, and Ross Hall would not stand a chance. It's not a safe distance.
Okay.
Because Ross Hall is completely on the inside made of wood, and the only brick or somewhat concrete is on the outside.
Now, another question I have. Approximately, I would say 3 weeks ago to a month ago, there was a thunderstorm that actually blew out the power
Yes.
inside the building. They were talking about there was a chance we wouldn't have power back on for potentially 5 days.
Yes.
And me and you and several other students actually assisted in the cafeteria moving food so it could be stored at Kroger's.
Yes.
At any point in time during that storm, when they had us in the main lobbies of 6 all the way down to the basement level,
Yes.
did any of the faculty at any point in time, or any of the instructors that may have still been there, which I believe there was none,
Yes.
or any of the faculty tell you that we were going to have a student body emergency meeting?
No, sir.
Did any of them at any point in time ask the students to go to an appropriate location as a group so they could notify us of anything whatsoever dealing with the power situation, when it would come back on, or anything like the gym or the cafeteria, so the faculty and staff could move throughout the building? Alright, hold on. Move throughout the building so they could turn around and identify if there was any locations where students may have been inside the classrooms or anything at those points in time. Did you feel like they could have done that for your safety during that
Yes.
time when the power outage was out? When they had us all in those locations on 6th, 4th, 5th, all the way down to the basement level, they could have moved us into the cafeteria
Yes.
and also the gymnasium, where they could have addressed the student body
Yes.
and given an emergency meeting and explained to everyone there what was currently going on and what they knew with energy and what was going to be going on with class the next day. Would that have set you more at ease
Yes.
and made you feel more comfortable, that you felt like you were in a more of a safe environment and that staff and faculty respected you as an individual?
Yes, it would have.
Would you like to explain to me how you felt during that day?
When the power first went out, they told us, to go down to 5th floor lobby, and everybody that was on 6th went down to 5th floor lobby, and then they started, just doing random stuff, but the staff had no idea what was going on. They had no general idea of what was going to take place. The coaches had no way of knowing. The radios were out. Everything was down when the power went out. So the only people that really knew what was going on at that present point in time was Mr. Rick, security, and the coaches. I mean, the coaches knew to get us off the floor quick because there was too many windows. And honestly, the gym is more secure because there's no windows in the gym. But however, it is still at the top of, close to the top of the building. And I mean, they didn't call any emergency meeting. They didn't do anything. All they did was told us that we had to go to a certain place and stay there.
Okay. At any point in time after we were basically told to go to the 6th floor lobby all the way down to the basement, when they dismissed us, did anyone at any point in time that was faculty or staff told you to remain in your room, that there was a lockdown, and that they were going to go and make room checks and make sure that everybody's room was clean in the pitch dark where nobody could see, and that was basically a safety hazard? Because if you were trying to clean in the pitch dark, could you proficiently clean a room?
No.
Or be able to mop a room and make sure it was taken care of accordingly?
No.
In the dark? So, in your opinion, do you think them making you go to your room for a lockdown to clean your room and then call for basically room checks, do you think that was an appropriate thing to do during a power outage?
No. Because
Do you
it's
think
an occupational safety hazard.
Do you think that maybe allowing you to contact your family and your friends and letting them know how you were doing and your well-being,
Yep.
and the rest of the students would have been more of a priority on their list?
Yep.
Do you think calling for a student body emergency meeting
Yep.
and assessing all the students and making sure there was no students left in their dorm rooms that may have slept through it, to be able to let them know what was going on?
Yep.
Do you think that would have been an appropriate way to handle a
That
situation?
would have been that'd have been more appropriate than what they did.
Okay. Do you feel like there's anything else you would like to discuss? Like, maybe did you go into the actual trade you want to go into, or the actual program you want to go into?
Well, there is an issue with the whole co-ed thing. The co-ed, I mean, they say that, ACTI, you can't have sex on a federal facility. That's common sense. And yeah, if you want to have sex, be courteous and respectful and go to a hotel. Don't do it on campus. But yet, when the TEPs were here a few months ago, Mr. Rick was letting them. He wasn't monitoring the floors properly, because they've caught 3 TEP students that were couples, screwing on the pool tables on the 6th floor in the main building. There was TEP students screwing on the picnic tables over there at Ross Hall, and there was several other students screwing in the bedrooms in Ross Hall.
Having intercourse.
Yes.
So they were having intercourse in those locations. So
Yes.
It wasn't ACTI students.
No.
You heard it was PT students.
Yes. TEP students.